One of the biggest surprises to quite a few people is the fact that Charles Oliveira is going into UFC 280 as the underdog. Let's check it out. For UFC 280, Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira are going to face off to determine who is the lightweight division champion. Michael Chandler can't get over the fact that Charles is the underdog in this matchup. Michael stated, "Charles has the upper hand in my opinion. I think it's crazy that he's an underdog, but I do think Islam has the tools to be able to win. So we'll see what happens on October 22nd. I'll be watching that very intensely, and I hope to face the winner. You definitely can't say Islam is unproven, but you definitely can say, I think there's a certain mystique. There's a certain correlation that we want to make between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam. And then you have Coach Javier Mendez coming out and saying that Islam is better than Khabib. You've got Khabib saying Islam is better than Khabib. You've got this big hype machine coming up. For me, who would I rather face? I think it's 50-50. I think if it's Charles, I'd love to be able to get that rematch. I think I was so close to winning the title against Charles. I think that we have tape on each other. We have highlight reels of each other fighting each other. Both of us had our highs and lows in that fight. And I also would love to, if Islam does beat Charles, I'd love to be the guy that stops the hype train of Islam if he does win. Joe Rogan breaks down what he thinks we can expect from the underdog.
Makhachev versus Oliveira.
Khabib don't think it's going to go past 2 rounds.
Khabib thinks Makhachev's going to take him out in 2.
2.
You never know. The thing about Oliveira is everybody looks at Oliveira at his lowest points. And his lowest points, Cub Swanson knocked him out, Paul Felder smashed him, all these people beat him, but something happened when that dude had a kid. That's what it is. That dude had a daughter. And there's a fire inside of him like in the center of the sun. And I don't know what it is, man, but he's a different human, man. He goes right into the line of fire too.
Straight.
He's not taking any shortcuts. There's no. It's all risk. He goes right in, and he's 100% confident. It doesn't matter how hard you hit him. He's going to be fine. It's an amazing card, but the Oliveira Makhachev fight, that's the big one. That's the big one because there's so many questions, and Oliveira has never fought a grappler like Islam.
No,
but Islam's never fought a guy who can submit people like Oliveira can. Oliveira.
I always go to this, Joe. Sorry.
Charles is sure of himself, though, and he claims that he plans to shock the world at UFC 280. Charles stated, "I'm going to shock the world yet again." Well, opinions are subjective, and some people believe that I would be a potential winner, he would be a potential winner, but I'm going to show that my history, my background, the number of fights I've had, my contenders, those will come to show on that very night. In this sense, I'll shock the world because people will change their opinion about this. Someone who seems to think that Charles is definitely the underdog is Khabib, and he has wasted no time in praising Islam and putting Charles down. Khabib recently stated, "This is what Islam gonna do with Charles Oliveira. He gonna ride him like you ride your horse." A lot of people underestimate Islam. They think Charles Oliveira have ground game. He don't have ground game. He don't have ground game. If you tap 8 times in UFC, how you can say you have ground game? You tap 8 times. Charles's coach isn't taking Khabib's trash talk lightly, though. He's already responded with statistics for his fighter. He stated, "Charles is stronger than him, and Charles has more techniques than him. So that doesn't scare me, because if Makhachev brings him to the floor, Charles will beat him. And if Makhachev tries to stay up, Charles will knock him out. It's going to be in the first or second round, a knockout. That's not good what Khabib is doing. That psychological thing, because he's a very good guy, a very good fighter. And he was never that guy that was trash talking and things like that. It's not good for Makhachev, because he needed Khabib to get the belt. And Makhachev doesn't need that, because he's a good fighter too. Khabib brought a very big responsibility to Makhachev, because after Saturday when Makhachev loses, what's he going to do? Is he coming back? Is he fighting again? Chael Sonnen even believes that Charles could surpass Khabib as the GOAT if he's able to beat Khabib's protege, Islam Makhachev.
If Charles beats Islam, that Charles be recognized as the greatest light heavyweight ever. Lightweight. Ever. Now, Charles is currently sitting in position number 2. Somehow, Charles and Khabib have just erased the career of BJ Penn. Okay. They've erased the career of Jens Pulver. Oh, okay. Today's guys are better than yesterday's guys. I'm just sharing with you that's in the debate right now. Now, the narrative with Charles going in to fight Islam is that if Charles wins, Charles gets recognized as the greatest ever. That's true. That's a belief in our industry. And it was co-signed by one of the great voices in our industry, Michael Bisping, last night. Simultaneous with that storm. Simultaneous. While at the same time, a mutually exclusive term, which makes it impossible, comes in that Islam doesn't deserve the shot. Islam should not even be in there. Islam is the wrong guy How can you beat the wrong guy and be recognized as the greatest ever? Now, it's numbers that don't lie. I have to bring you that. And that was a final point of Michael Bisping. He said, you can't deny the numbers. I think Michael's right, and I won't attempt to deny the numbers. I will see your numbers and I will accept them.
Michael Bisping seems to agree with Chael. Bisping stated, greatest lightweight of all time? I think if Charles beats Islam this weekend, I think that belongs to Charles now. I really do. I think he will have surpassed him, simply because he's taken out all the top contenders. And it's not Khabib's fault, but you can't deny the numbers, the momentum, the history that Oliveira is making. When he continues after talking about Khabib's record, he finishes by stating, the reality is the reason we asked the question is because he didn't stick around long enough. And we know why. It was a very honorable reason, but would he have beaten all these new top contenders? He'd have beaten some of them, but would he have beaten Charles? We don't know. We can only imagine. After hearing Khabib saying that Charles will run through Islam, Daniel Cormier has his own thoughts on the matter as well.
In regards to the fight with Islam Makhachev's fight with Charles do Bronx, Khabib said he expects Islam to roll through him, saying, quote, I think Islam's more skilled than Charles. Secondly, his experience as an amateur fighter. Also, he believes that Islam is at his peak because Islam isn't 23, 26, or 27. He's 30, turns 31 the week after the fight. It's the best time for any athletes. It's a state where your mental and your physical approach should be in synergy. Sometimes your mental is great, physical isn't. Physical is great, mental isn't. When you're 27, you may feel great physically, but mentally, you're just not there yet because you're 27. Islam, he feels, is at his peak right now, and he believes that he's overall better, of course. And this is the key in this quote, guys, because I saw all the titles, and it said Khabib expects to run through. Of course, there are some potential dangers that we're working on where Islam needs to be very careful. Other than that, I believe that Islam should roll over him. Guys, it's crazy because for a long time, Islam was thought to be a decision fighter. But as he has matured, those finishes are now coming. But you also got to be very cognizant of what's in front of you. And I think that is where Khabib is saying, I understand the dangers. So they're spending more time working on those areas where they feel there is danger. And with Charles Oliveira, there's a lot of danger. A lot of danger. Because he's fantastic off his back. He's tremendous on his feet. And his confidence level is through the roof. I saw Charles Oliveira on Instagram today walking with a white tiger. Dude's at home in Abu Dhabi. This is a hometown crowd for Islam Makhachev. Bronx is just walking around there like he owns a place. But Islam is of that same belief as Khabib. Because he believes that when he's on the ground, no matter who the opponent is, he can really impose himself on them, as we saw.
As for Charles's responses to these comments, he decided to take the high road, it seems. Charles stated, coaches say what they need to say to build up their fighters, but you know and I know that what the coaches say doesn't matter when the bell rings. Khabib is retired, so Islam is their big guy. He's a great athlete and he's on a nice winning streak. I respect him, but we'll see what happens on Saturday. It seems as though everyone else is more concerned about Charles coming in as the underdog, but he has proven that his mind is in the right place for this upcoming fight. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more crazy fight news and updates.